Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I will be reviewing this, a Bachmann Jinty in British Rail and Line Black livery. So quickly before I get into it too much, here is the box, just the standard Bachmann packaging. The only difference is that this one has the updated logo, which I believe none of my other locomotives do, and that's just because this one is a recently released version of the model. It's not new tooled or anything. This model has existed, I believe, since like 2005, but mine has a few upgrades to it since the original version, which I will go over in the review. The first of which I will show you right now. Here are the instructions, and it claims right here in the instructions that this loco has an X18 socket, and the original versions of this model, I don't even know if they were DCC ready, because 2005 was a long time ago. I would have thought they had an 8-pin socket by then, but maybe that's not even the original release, I'm not sure. But yeah, the instructions just go over lubrication and fitting a decoder and all that good stuff, so nothing crazy there. So, let's get into reviewing the actual model. So this model, in terms of detail anyway, is very nice in my opinion. So starting at the front, you have the Midland style smoke box door, which doesn't have a separately fitted dart. That's not Bachmann's fault, that's perfectly accurate. And you've got a separately fitted handrail on the dart, which looks relatively fine scale even for considering its age, and compared to modern standards. You've got a lot of separate lamp irons on the front, vacuum pipe that came pre-fitted, and spring buffers, which is always cool to see. So yeah, I'll just go to the other side first. Got lots of nice molded detail on the tanks, especially on top of them. British Rail crest, which looks great. The distinct little cutout in the Jinties, I don't know what exactly it's for, but it's something I always associate with them. Up on top, you have the metal safety valves and the whistle, which the whistle is just plastic, but it does look like it's made out of metal because of the way it's been painted with Bachmann's. I don't know what it is. It's some special type of paint they use now on their models. But it looks really good and convincing in like real metal. And that's something that they've done as an upgrade on this model because they just came out with this technology a few years ago. So that's one of the upgrades this model has. It also just has a nicer overall, finish to the boiler and tanks and stuff. I also noticed on top of this, it doesn't have a molding line. There are some rivets, along the center of the top, but that's obviously just a detail there, not a molding line. So I'm not sure, maybe this model doesn't actually have a molding line, but I could have swore I'd seen in another review it does, and certainly most of Bachmann's other models from this time period do have a molding line, so maybe that's something they fixed as well with the most recent version. I'm not sure. Around the back, you've got the coal guard and the coal in the bunker. And then on the back, you've also got more separately fitted lamp brackets and vacuum pipes, more spring buffers. And then the other side, the tanks and all that stuff is basically the same. But then up at the front, you can see here, there is this massive amount of pipework and lubricators and whatever else on the locomotive. This all looks pretty fine scale. It looks like any pictures of a real Jinty I've seen, and it looks incredible, especially given that this model is now like 20 years old or something, or at least the original tooling is. So that's pretty awesome. And I forgot to mention there are one or two other separately fitted details here up on top of the tank with like this little thing. I don't know what exactly it is, but it's there and it's separately fitted. One detail this is missing is the valve gear between the frames. Now, for the time that this model came out, totally normal. You never had that, I don't think, on any models at that time. Maybe there were one or two that they'd introduced it on, but it certainly wasn't normal then. These days you expect that, which, it is a bit of a shame, but I don't think it's a reason to completely retool the model. So yeah, I think this is overall a really nice looking model, and I haven't even showed you the best part. The best part is if you look in the cab, look at all that painted detail in there. There's lots of separately fitted controls, and basically all of them are painted. And the back wall and stuff is painted as well. Now, the original Bachmann Jintys were not like this. This is something that they've added just on their most recent run that came out a few years ago, which included this one, and I believe there was a BR Lake Crest one and an early LMS version that Bachmann released as well. All of them have painted cabs now, which is great, and I'm very glad they've added that, because to me, that was the main thing about these Jintys that was a little outdated, was the cab detail looked very coarse and chunky, and it wasn't painted. And Bachmann have fixed that, and it looks incredible, to the point where, in terms of looks, I don't think we could ask for a new tooled Jinty. Like, realistically, what is the point in tooling up a new Jinty just to have some valve gear between the frames? I don't think that's really necessary. So as you can see, I'm very impressed with how this model looks visually, and for, I believe the RP for this is like 130 pounds, which is a little steep, but let's be honest, you don't pay RRP with Bachmann models, you pay retailer prices. You can pick these up at the retailers for between 100 and 110 pounds, and for that price, I think given this level of detail, that is a very solid price. However, there is one thing that I do want to mention with this model, and to do that, I'm going to have to get it down onto the track on my layout to show you the performance of it. Down on the tracks, here is where the problem starts. As you can see, the loco really struggles to move at slow speed, and it cogs and jerks all over the place. It's definitely the least smooth running locomotive I have at a crawl or slow speed. It is also very hard to control the model at these speeds, and to get it to even do a really bad slow speed where it's cogging and jerking all over the place takes a lot of effort and a very careful hand on the control knob. As you can see, I'm really struggling to hit that sweet spot, and even when I do hit it, it just sort of jolts into action. There's no super slow speed on this. And you can also hear the motor making a bit of a growling sound as well as it runs, which is not normal at all. I don't really have any other models besides really old models that do this. As you can see, the model runs a bit smoother at higher speeds, as here I have it pulling the skids train at about 40% on my controller, and it handles it fine and does very little jerking around, although I did catch it occasionally giving a bit of a jolt as it went along. And as you can see here as well, here it is running at 40% with the same goods train around the curve, and as you can see, the performance is still passable. As you can see now though, I have the model running backwards, and it's now making the growling sound again. It doesn't really affect the performance at this speed. It's more just irritating and makes me think something's wrong with the loco. As you'll see in a minute though, when I slow it down again to a more sensible speed for a Jinty, it starts making noise again. Now I have the loco running backwards with a train of vans at 30% speed. As you can see, it's running very slowly for 30% speed, and it keeps jumping in speed, and speeding up and slowing down. I do not know what is wrong with the loco, and why it runs this badly at slow speeds, but it's definitely got some problems, and I don't have any other locomotives that run this badly at slow speeds. As you can see as well, the performance only gets worse when it enters a curve, and it just about grinds to a halt several times. As you can see as well, running forward, it still makes a bit of a noise going at 30% speed, and it still isn't the most consistent, but it's much better than it was going in reverse. And just for comparison's sake, here's my Bachmann J72, or E1, pulling the same goods train at the same speed setting on my controller. Notice that the loco is a little bit faster, and that it's not speeding up and slowing down as it moves, nor is it jerking around. And in contrast again, here's the Jinty at 40% on my controller pulling the same train. Amazing what a 10% difference in the speed can make. And for this loco, this is a problem, since the Jintys mainly just did branch line freight work and shunting, so they didn't exactly run fast pulling their trains. I removed this GaugeMaster decoder from my Rapido J52 just to test it in the Jinty and see if it made an improvement. In order to take the body off on the Jinty, there's 2 screws underneath that need to be removed, one under each of the couplings, which need to be popped off in order to get at them. When you remove the body, you see that the chassis inside is not that impressive, as the motor inside is pretty tiny, and I suspect that this is the reason the loco runs so poorly at slow speeds, as there does not seem to be enough torque in the mechanism, and I'm guessing it's because of this motor. I simply removed the Next 18 blanking plate and fitted in the Next 18 GaugeMaster decoder that I borrowed from the J52. Now, let's take it back down to the track and see if that changes anything about the performance. Down on the layout, this locomotive still cogs and jolts around when trying to run at slow speeds, even on DCC, so adding a decoder really hasn't made that much of a difference to the crawl. Oddly enough, on DCC, I think it's even worse going forward than backwards, which is actually the opposite of how it was on analog, I'd argue. Loco also continues to make a grinding sound in reverse still though, and it's a bit quieter going forward. One thing that you can see has improved on DCC, though, is that the loco can run now at slow speeds without jolting around too much and without slowing down too much, even around curves, as you'll see in a minute. However, I don't really think that's even worth mentioning, as barely any locomotives will do this on DCC, as honestly, the worst pile of garbage will at least be able to run at high speed with it consistently and not have torque issues with a decoder fitted. And as you can see here, the loco is managing the curve perfectly fine without stalling or slowing down like it was doing before, so that is good. Overall then, what are my thoughts on the Bachmann Jinty? Well, I bought this loco a few years ago, and honestly, I was pretty disappointed with it because of the performance. I think the loco looks great, and I have no issue at all with the level of detail on it, and I think for the most part it easily rivals more modern tank engines. The problem is, though, is that this model just does not perform to standard at all. It works okay at the high speeds, which would be great if it was like an express passenger locomotive or a fast freight locomotive, but it's not. This locomotive was a shunter that also pulled short freight trains on little branch lines and stuff at slow speeds, and this model just doesn't run well. That's going to be about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and sorry for the negativity of this one. I try not to be negative though, and I like to be positive and show both good and bad in the reviews. So with that, as the Jinty cogs into place in the station, I would like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!